We got the man. We've got Mr. Pete here. Everybody knows Pete from Equilibrium Consulting, and today we're going to have some marketing discussion. Pete, I know we have a few questions that we're going to go through, and we'll keep it fairly casual. Anybody that's listening, whether on YouTube or you're here on Zoom, if you want, feel free to jump in with any questions. Pete, just before we get started, for anybody that might be listening on YouTube that's not familiar with you, if you could give just a quick overview of who you are and what you do.
Sure. Pete Bussum. I am the founder and president of Equilibrium Consulting, a full service marketing agency for the MSP community. We, unlike many, only focus on the MSP and early startup vendors that are in our space. Ex-MSP myself, so like many, grew my product and my service out of what I saw a need for. So that's it. And we're about 18 years, going on 18 years old now. So we might be one of the longest standing marketing agencies in this space too, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, marketing is such a critical thing that I mean, I grew up on the marketing side. My schooling was marketing, and so I have a passion for that side of the business. I know others may not. As MSPs, it's mostly tech first, and then other skills have come to follow from that perspective. I think, many MSP owners have found different areas of the business where they've said, hey, I love the finance side, or I love the operations side, I love marketing, I love whatever the case may be. And you can find that passion beyond the technology side and determine where you can spend and focus some of your time. So one of the things that we were going to talk about today is finding where our clients are hanging out online. um, we talk a lot about our ideal client profile. And actually, one thing before we get into this, Jay, Eric, Jackie, Norm, do you guys all have an ICP, an ideal client profile? Do you have something that is pretty set in stone and you stick to that, or do you fluctuate from that? Does anybody want to give any opinion from that perspective?
I wouldn't say I have it defined, but
Okay.
it's just kind of like a feeling you get when you meet a prospect and stuff, where you can have a good relationship if they fit your style and your mold and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Eric? He came off mic. I wasn't sure if he was going to jump in there or not.
Sorry.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have a pretty good idea, but much like Jay, it's more of a, yep, I have a pretty good feeling about this, not a well-defined outside
Sure.
of we have three verticals that we know we do very well in and provide good service. And we're a good fit for, we understand the business, we understand the applications, all that. So
Yeah. Excellent. Pete, you want to jump in there as far as your thoughts on ICPs?
yeah,
tell us how wrong we are for doing it our way.
no, there, it's like anything. It's like technical, right? If you, there's 10 different ways to get to the ultimate goal of making something work. There's always the best practices that you work with that give you that line in the sand and everybody can weave around it, right? But as long as you come back and it's working.
Yeah.
So everybody deploys a method that's there. Best practices says you should define it. and you should look at it periodically to say, what do my existing clients like? Because that's where your ICP can get very strong, is what you think you should be going after isn't necessarily where you have success. And so your ICP can really help you look at your existing client base, um, and look at them and say, what do they look like to what I think my client should be, or where I'm going, or where I feel. Um, so when you get more targeted, you can go after a specific business and you can narrow that market and push on it a little bit more. And when you look at your existing client base, they will tell you it would be very obvious. Now we've got some tools that we've built, and they're internal tools now that we actually can go in and look at. Um, for instance, somebody that's using a Keep or a HubSpot. We haven't built the API over to like a ConnectWise or an Autotask yet, but we can actually go in with our app and say, we define it with you. Here's what it looks like: number of people, revenue, geography, all of the things that go along with that. Then we turn around and we actually take that data and we go out and interrogate your existing CRM and pulls that data in. It says, all right, you're right on the mark, or here's what your existing client base looks like. Here's how it's broken down. Here's the geographies that they're in, and it pinpoints it right into where you can have your most success. So if you don't do it that way, I would recommend you get a little more formal with it, because it will help you target, and reach, instead of carpet bombing, uh, with everything, going out and just going after every small business that's out there. Um, you may have had some bad experiences with one or two of the same kind of businesses that you don't realize. You just look at it as a personality conflict or whatever, but it might be the same type of business that you went, and your ICP and proving out your ICP will definitely help with that. So,
And I think too, there's different aspects of an ICP. There's the external components of, maybe the size of the organization, maybe um, the industry that they're in. Um, those are things that I think from a marketing perspective, we can, target those. But then there are other aspects of our ICP that we can't really identify if they're a fit until we meet with them or speak to them. Those that truly get technology, embrace it, want to invest into technology. So those, I think there are two factors. There's those external components, like we talked about, but those internal components, um, you know, uh, I've never had them really documented, and I've never had a checklist per se. And it's always been gut, like Eric and Jay had talked about. And I've been in front of many prospective clients that, I would basically walk away fairly quickly, because you identify that they're looking for the cheapest possible thing. They want to take all the shortcuts, and they're not going to embrace technology to the extent that is critical, especially in today's world from a cybersecurity perspective. If they're not going to get on the cybersecurity bandwagon, and they're going to try to get away from any type of policies and procedures that are critical in keeping them secure, those are things we're going to walk away from.
yeah,
So,
Well, and I
but
think that goes to organizational maturity, which is not which really probably should be in our ICP.
yes,
that's
yeah,
part of it. Yep. And the other thing that you can do, Dan, now with some of the tools that are out there, like like the list services, they have buyer's intent. And that buyer's intent also will show you what tools they're using and stuff, and how much they value technology. So if you have one of those subscriptions, you have the ability to take a look at that before you accept that meeting, or even put time forward against that client,
yeah.
looking at the buyer intent. So there's a lot of data out there now, and a lot of these companies are really pulling it. So Again, that wonderful world of and word or phrase, organizational maturity. It has a big thing, and that's what marketing is. You learn as you grow, and depending on where you adapt best practices is where you're going to find quicker success or not. So
Yeah. So going back to our original question, as far as trying to figure out where our clients are hanging out online, because obviously if we want to market to them, there are multiple platforms out there. Of course, we've got Facebook, we've got LinkedIn, there's Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, as well as other platforms. And um, it comes down to how are we getting in front of our ICPs where they're at online? Let's talk through that.
yeah, so everybody's like, how am I supposed to know where my clients are? And I always say, go meet your customers where they're at, right? If you're not meeting them where they're at, then you're not going to connect. And social media is a way to connect. It's not necessarily a way to make a sale, but it can be a lead gen source properly crafted and put. So the first thing that I always recommend is look at your existing client base. Go to their website, look at what social platforms they are on, and then kind of go in and spot chat a little bit with them to see, are they active? Are they active in a personal way, or are they active just as a business, right? Is it just a business acting, or can you see that it's showing up on their personal pages, pending on it, or their wall, pending on what outlet you're using or what channel you're using. So that's the best way, is to start with existing clients and really look at their website and go to theirs. You can also probably in your PSA, most of them in CRMs also let you record their LinkedIn profile, their Facebook profile, their X or their Instagram, and many others. So, just take a look at that, use the recording, and then run a report, and you'll be able to get that data relatively quickly. So it's pretty easy to do. It does take some time though, and that's the thing that most people don't have, is the time, right? It's a resource suck. So
Right. So earlier you talked about some of the leads lists that are out there and some of the data that's available. I remember way back when there was an organization, I'm not even sure if they're still around, Hart Hanks. And and they always had very detailed information as far as, you know, and again, this is really dating myself, were they a Novell shop? Were they a Windows shop? And it had a lot of granular data. And it wasn't always accurate, but it gave you some idea.
mhm.
How accurate is some of that data that's out there today?
Well, it's it ages quickly. So,
Yeah,
if they go out and verify the data now, the buyer intent could be outdated within 3 months, just like a list is, right? Somebody,
right,
way people move around, although it's a little harder to get a job right now, so people aren't moving. It's the movement has slowed down a little bit, um, from people jumping from company to company.
right,
Um, so, uh, lists are stabilizing a little bit right now, but you can usually say that the margin for error when you bring that kind of data down is going to be at a minimum of 25% error rate, if not more. So that's one thing. And the other thing I failed to mention was you have a great tool also in Google Analytics in your website. And you can use Google Analytics to look at the source that refers to your website, which will tell you where people are visiting from, where they're coming from to get to your website. So it'll tell you whether it came from LinkedIn or Facebook or one of the other channels. So,
So for an organization that might, I guess let's look at this from a perspective of two things. One, organization that doesn't have somebody dedicated to marketing. The second option is an organization like many MSPs. You know, those MSP owners are often doing their own marketing. Um, how often should somebody be looking at that data as far as Google Analytics?
Well, I mean, I would, look at a tool or look at the Google console at a minimum monthly. But if you're running active campaigns, you want to look at it more frequently.
Yeah,
Obviously you want to look at it between pieces that you're releasing in your active campaign. So if you're doing an email touch once a week, you want to kind of take a look at all your data points to see, did that work?
yeah.
What tweaks do I need to make in my, you know, social to see how I'm getting people attracted to show up in my website? So,
And it really is interesting, especially if you're doing a campaign and, you know, I'd love nothing more again, my background on the marketing side, because it's in my blood. I love pulling up Google Analytics after we do a email campaign. And I love looking at the map, especially for everything MSP, with us having, people opted in from around the world. I love looking at that map to see the little red dot show up all over the world and see where they're coming from. But what's more interesting is their journey to our website. So if it's taking them to a certain area on our website, basically what we're marketing, where else are they traveling on our site once they get there? So from an MSP perspective, you might be pushing, maybe security awareness training and you're leading them to that page on your site and being able to see where else and what else they're looking at on your site is interesting.
yeah, it's a good piece to look at. And there's some other things like we have a product called Connect My PSA, our marketing product, and it's a little applet that goes in a website, whether it's a WordPress or any other site. You can put the code in, and basically it does anonymous website visitor. But we've tuned it now that you can actually build your ICP in the tool, and it will only notify you within 10 minutes of somebody that fits your ICP showing up on your website. And then it'll
Oh,
give you
wow.
a report, and it'll give you right down. Now we've been able to go right into where it's in a cell phone or a mobile device, where before we couldn't do that if
Yeah.
it wasn't a static or a reversible IP. So now through the technology, we can trap that, and within 10 minutes of somebody being on your website that fits your ICP, we can drop you a notification and said, this is it. This is where they were and how long they spent on each page.
How
Which
does
is,
it, I'm sorry, but how does it able to determine if it's an ICP? Just geographics? I mean,
you go
can't
in
find out
after,
much more than that, I would think.
well, actually, if you've gone out and set up your ICP by all of the demographics, size of company, and level of who you're looking for, you can put that in to the platform, and the platform will then look and run that against some of these list services. And if it matches and your ICP matches, so we do some lookups out to like an Apollo or one of the big name services. We subscribe to about 5 of them, and we match all the data and we give that data back pretty quickly to say, here's a company that matches. You'll still get a daily report or a weekly report or even a monthly report with a spreadsheet that says, hey, here's everybody that visited your site that we identified, but we're only going to send you the instant notifications of the ones that match that ICP. So it does give you the ability to take the ICP that you've documented and mirror it into the tool, and then the tool can go out and do lookups for you to marry it
But
up.
but again, I mean, it would only have the incoming IP to do a lookup on, right?
Well, everything has an IP, including a mobile device. So
Right.
So we can go out and look at through some technology, we can look at what's available, and we can see what the device is saying as far as an org unit or company or where the IP is coming from. And we can look it up by domain. We can look it up by IP block. We can look it up by your name, because we
Hmm.
can drop a bunch of different information that we can retrieve using that. So
Hmm.
computers are pretty fairly open, and so are handhelds for that. And uh, you know, when they
It's
come to your
also
website, there's cookies and other technology that you can put into your website that allow that to happen.
yeah. It's also interesting to, getting a good feel for what the mobile versus, desktop is, and just see, what type of device that they're coming from. And while this shouldn't matter, but it just makes it even so much more important that, your site is, mobile optimized.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if somebody gets to your site and they can't see things, they're having to scroll left to right in order to see things, that becomes a problem, and they're gonna drop. And so some good things there. Want to move on to another question as far as how often that we want to post on different platforms. So, let's say we've already identified that our ICP is, you know, mostly on LinkedIn and X. We'll just use those as an example. So let's just talk more about what content we put out there, developing a content calendar, and should content be platform specific? So, I think there's always that question mark of if should I be putting the same content on all platforms? And yes or no?
So it does depend on the platform, and it also is consistency over volume, right? We want to always be careful. And I say consistency over volume because if you're posting daily, you're probably going to burn out, you
Mhm.
personally. You just kind of,
Yeah.
your mental capacity is, puffs of smoke will be coming out of your ear, or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think, on LinkedIn, a recommendation is three to five times max a week, but a minimum of three. And they can be in a variety of things, but don't make them all sales. Mix them up. Like, it's okay to have a sales one with a call to action, but make some informative ones, do some education, maybe tell a story. If you look at my personal one, I don't want to say that it's a good model, but I have over each week, I have close to 2,000 interactions on my page.
Hmm.
I have over 7,000 impressions per week. I didn't always have that, right? It built over time, and it was probably over a 3-year, 4-year time. So it takes time to build your audience, get people that are following you, etc., right? But I like to do stories and relate them to business, and do different things to show stories or personal experiences, because that's it. And if you have the ability to put pictures of yourself up or doing something that relates to the story, it's that much better. On Facebook, it's a little different. 2 to 3 times a week, I recommend stories. And the reason that I recommend stories is because people are more apt to swipe video these days than they are to read a static post. So, take a look at that, create a quick story, tell a little thing, do a little video clip. Um, you'll see on my LinkedIn, I don't post as much personally on Facebook, because Facebook, I keep more close to family and friends, not necessarily business. I have a business Facebook that we do that with for the company. So, but
Like a
if you,
Facebook page or an entirely separate account?
well, we have a company page and I have a personal page. I don't accept a lot of people into my personal page because I tend to post more personal stuff that I want to keep close to family and friends, right? where the company page will post just about anything that we're doing or what have you.
Right.
You can post content that is similar with some minor changes to it. So people that are on both platforms that see it see a little differentiation and go and do it. But I would definitely think about, 2 to 3 times a week on Facebook using stories. Because again, video gets more attention than others. Instagram, same thing, 3 times a week, stories and reels. X, I don't know. Some people still use X, others don't. We've never really seen big traction in X. And from a business perspective, we tell you to stay away, keep your business off of Reddit. Um, Reddit and
Yeah,
Yelp are just cesspools for um, bad PR and things of that nature that anybody can go on there. They don't get verified. They don't have to be validated. Their name is untraceable and they can say anything they want. And once it's there, you can't get it removed. So, you can't even, and if you try and defend it, you'll get 10 more people coming in to do it.
right.
So I say it's a bad place to be from a business. Although it's a great place for people to hide and really voice their opinions without feeling like there's going to be retribution from a
Yeah.
big company. So, um, but that would be my guideline for the major four where most companies are going to be playing these days. There are some discords that are out there also, but they probably have a very focused group in the Discord. So, um, but those would be the big ones. Um,
So,
and set a rhythm. Just set a rhythm. There's tools out there. There's Hootsuite. There's Social Pilot. Some of them will let you, like Hootsuite used to give you a free up to 3 platforms. So you could go in and schedule a whole month, set it, and forget it, you know? So spend an hour loading up some content and then walking away but go in and look at it. Look at what your impressions are. You can do them inside of, you can do the analytics inside of the platform, or you can do it internally to one of the apps that use it. So,
and I couldn't agree with you more as far as, getting that content preloaded and set because, we might all have good intentions that, once a week, we're going to go ahead and, put some, get some posts out there, maybe twice a week, 3 times a week. Things happen. We live in a business that's chaotic, ever changing. And, for us to be able to come up with content, even if you're not front loading it, if you're not using a tool to pre-schedule, the best thing to do though is to develop that content, have that content ready, um, because otherwise it just might not happen. Um,
mm-hmm.
I always, the good old saying, "Tomorrow's a road to nowhere," rings true, and it's so much easier to be able to say, okay, I've got enough content for the whole month of September that I'm going to be ready to post it. Then you can pre-post, schedule posts and so on.
Yep.
Um,
I think the last thing you want is a blog site on your website, and the newest article is 3 years old.
yes, exactly.
Well,
And
website is a whole different discussion, and making sure that your website is current and up to standards and has the latest stuff in it is always very important, because that is the landing ground where people are going to come to, right? They're going to come to check you out first. And, if you don't have what the ICP and the personas that are looking at, you're probably missing the boat on another thing. So that we could talk about that one for probably a couple hours. So
right.
easily.
So
So,
how do we, how about as far as posting content without, so I guess posting, but also repurposing a post in across platforms without sounding repetitive.
right. So I always say like, think of like a column or a pillar, right? Start with a pillar idea. Like, what's my idea, right? And then, for the different platforms, like I said, stories or reels or what have you, um, take that idea and turn it into some kind of carousel or infographic if you can. Now that takes a little more time when you're developing other than a quick, text post or doing something in in a Canva or an Adobe Express or something like that. But there's tools out there like Adobe Express that are free, and people are like, "What?" And it's fairly capable at building reels and stories. So you could do that. Um, do a behind the scenes reel, like we posted for a customer that's 20 years old, and we did an analogy of an airplane to business and rocky roads and peaks and valleys, and meanwhile they have a balsa flyer and they're flying the balsa flyer in their hand, and you can hear the noise in the background. Shows some personality of the company, but it was an outtake. It wasn't something that they had originally planned. And the one person that was doing it was like, okay, now do it, don't go so high. And she came back and she was like, can you turn the volume off? I'm like, absolutely not. That is the part of showing that we're real. You're human. You're not just, a post, but there's real humans behind that, giggling and laughing and having some fun. There's some persona on your side being shown also, and that's important. So, start with that pillar idea and craft it, using carousels, infographics, static, use key key component like your customers or your prospective customers. They love to see 60% of small businesses, some statistic, you know bean counters and C-level execs cue in on that kind of stuff. They love that kind of stuff. So don't be afraid to like take it and repurpose the data, but make a couple changes in there that might be appealing depending on the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And, going back to reels and carousels, I mean, I think, as technologists, we always love looking at, maybe there's some carousels and they're showing different images. I mean, you could do different type of carousels where you've got educational components, so certain topics that, are going to talk about business outcome when it comes to, technology. And if you want to truly capture a business owner, business leader's attention, if you have a carousel with a variety of images that focus on that business outcome, you're going to pull them in. You're going to capture their attention. Just like, having a conversation, you have a QBR, TBR, and you're talking about things that are not technology. They're talking about their business, how to be more efficient, more productive, more profitable, deliver a better client experience. You've locked them in.
I call it dwell time. Like,
Mm,
if you think of like all the old motorheads that might be in the audience, an old distributor cap, you set the dwell, right? You either
yeah.
advanced it or you retarded it, right? And either way, that was gonna be where you're going. Eric
Thanks,
shaking his
thank,
head.
Oh,
thanks, thanks for the
captured
PTSD.
Right?
you just
Um,
captured Eric's attention.
back
That's
when we only had 6 wires under the hood, right?
and
So,
it's still a problem when you're setting up your haul tech. Dwell is
yeah,
still a thing that you have to tweak
yep.
in the computer.
But I call it dwell time, and it's the time that we keep people's attention, and we can either advance that or we can slow it down based on how we arrange, a carousel or something else. But one of the things that I always say is start small and build a little, test a little, build a little, test a little, right? Till you find the balance of authentic and polished content. right? So you want that level of authenticity, but you want it to also look polished because you don't want to look rinky dink, right, to your customers. So you can be small and you can look very big, but you can still be very authentic and fun. So, but that's dwell time. And those reels or carousels or anything that you put into play, they have dwell time because they require like a manual advance or they require somebody to do it. And as they run, sometimes they're too fast, so you go backwards, right? So you go backwards in the reel so you can listen to it 1, 2, 3 times to make sure you captured all the audio, right? And or you're sitting there putting a hole through your mobile device trying to put it on pause so you can read it. So you have to
Right.
watch again. You have to watch again and watch again in these segments. So, just think about that. Think about, how people use their devices now and that's how you should be posting. And that will get you the what I call the dwell time.
Well,
So
doing those carousels, you know, I think, somebody's going to say, well, hey, I put all this time into coming up with one awesome image. I've got, you know, if somebody's not used to doing marketing and, they're jumping in and they created one great image, they're like, what do you mean I got to create like 9 more? So I've got 10 in my carousel. You know, it's worth the time though, because, you are flipping through those because that's captured their attention much longer. It's kept them there to a point where they're going to want to reach out to you versus it being a one and done. They might see one good image and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's cool," and they move on. But if you got them, if you've captured their attention, you've got them there for several seconds,
right.
they more than likely are going to want to learn more. They're going to reach out to you.
And I would give advice too to, you know, a real 3 to 5 or 3 to 5 in a carousel, slides in a
Sure.
carousel. After that, you're going to lose that dwell time and they're going to bounce. But
Yeah.
3 to 5 on a carousel and 30 seconds or under, I would tell you most reels are live, 15 seconds, just little snippets. Leave enough in there for them to kind of think about, let me follow this person, right? Build your
Right.
audience. So if you give them enough to whet their appetite, they'll come back for more and they want to see what else you're doing. So, for instance, you're going out and you're out in town. Think about, I'm out in town. What am I doing? Well, I'm going to visit a client. Why am I going to visit a client? Do a quick snippet, live video. I mean, everybody owns one of these devices these days. If not, I've seen several people now walking around with 2 of them, one personal and one business.
Believe it or
I,
not, I know a couple that still have flip phones.
I know a couple of them too, but they're making a comeback. Flip phones are going to make a
You can,
comeback.
yeah, that's
I
right.
heard,
Samsung
I,
sells them.
I heard pull out your old BlackBerry. It might be useful too.
Uh,
But but everybody's got one of them, and the cameras are on those are better than most cameras that you would buy for thousands of dollars right now. I mean, you're buying, they're $1,000 devices. They got great cameras on them.
yeah, when's the
So
last time a
use them.
smartphone phone manufacturer talked about the call quality of their phone? They only talk about the cameras.
Camera is a
Yeah.
big selling. It's like cup holders in a vehicle, right? How many
Uh,
cup holders do you have? Um, so, but they know their audience. They know what their audience is going to use it for. And that's good marketing, right, on their part. But, those are very powerful for you to do it. And if you have an iWatch, you can set it up on a tripod, put it across the desk from you, and you can start and stop it using your watch. You can control your video from your watch. So there's very easy tactics that you can do. And you don't have to have the perfect setting. I mean, heck, I don't even have the perfect setting to be on camera. I have that bright window that no matter what I do, I can't block out. So,
I know a guy
other
with
than
some
maybe,
plywood.
yeah, I was going to say I could put the hurricane wood up and that would help.
Right.
But um, so, you know, go out and use it. Don't be afraid to use it. Um, you know, A friend of ours in the community, Eric Bowles. I don't know if you guys know Eric or know of Eric. Eric has the 30-day, 60-day, 90-day challenge. And every day, just go out and do a quick video and put it up live, but just do it. Don't
Yeah.
sit and prepare. Don't write a script. Just go out and do something that's a little that, and you will get comfortable because nobody likes their own voice. Nobody likes the way they look. If you look in the mirror, you're constantly doing it. I mean, I know, I have a certain hat that when I put on, everybody looks at me. So I'm the most handsome guy in the world when I walk out with that hat on. My wife tells me it's the hat. It's not me. It's just not good for my confidence when she does that, though.
Love it.
So, but
So let's
so
let's talk about content creation. We all know it can be quite a task. And I want to open this up as a plug for Pete, what you guys do to make lives easier for MSPs by making that content available. Can you give like a 1 to 2 minute elevator pitch on what you guys have as far as content that can make our lives easier so we don't have to try to recreate it?
So we have a couple options. Obviously, we have our full done for you marketing platform. That's a monthly fee and goes out in social media content, sales sheets. If your brand touches it, we do it for you, right? So you can focus on going out and getting business, and we work on bringing customers to you or warming them up, warming your brand up and making it visible, right? That's one. We have another product called Market Vault. And Market Vault is a subscription that you can go to a website, and it's Market, MARKIT, vault.com. And you can go and download a subscription, a core of different packs that are already put together. But it's not just a graphic. We show you the graphic, but in the contents of the file that you download, you get the graphic size for all your media. You get a PDF of what is the content that goes with each graphic, and hashtags, tags, all the other things with instructions on what to do. So basically, you can download it. It's enough for 30 days. And, if you buy a kit and some of the add-ons of the core, you probably have enough for 60 or 90 days just in that one download if you want it. There's cybersecurity, there's reels, there's MSP tips. And we also have blog content that's all SEO optimized. The same thing. It's got the graphic, the blog, and it gives you all the SEO information to make it grade in a 90 plus, 90 to 100 plus, area for SEO. And we're rolling out a new program that is going to be a fixed fee where we'll do your website, we'll do your social media, and we'll manage all of that for a flat fee just to get you started. So it's a lower barrier to entry to help you when you don't have the resources, but from a dollar and a time perspective, but it's going to be at a much lower cost. So that will be introduced and out there. So that's
Excellent.
so.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we have our content, we get it posted out there, but we all want engagement, of course. I think the biggest struggle that we run into is we feel as if, okay, I put some time and energy into marketing. I put these these ads out there, this content out there. Nobody's liking it, nobody's loving it, nobody's commenting on it. But does that mean people aren't seeing it?
No, not at all. So you have to go into the utility or have to look at them on your page or inside Meta or inside the tool that you use, and you want to look at impressions, right? So, if you're getting impressions of 3 or 5, well, if you only have 15 people that are following or looking at your stuff, you're going to have very low engagement, right? So you have to build that following. You have to actively engage, ask for followers in newsletters, on your, emails, follow us on for great information that could help your business or whatever, in your QBRs, et cetera. Add that as part of your conversation to build your following of existing clients or prospects. But the second thing is you've got to look at the impressions and the metrics. You know, there's a lot of things that are called vanity metrics. You know, I have a number of followers. That's a vanity metric, right? Is it bad that you're tracking that? No, because at first that's what you're tracking, because you have to build your following to get impressions and get reactions, right? Reactions are when somebody clicks and chooses one of those great emojis. And impressions are how many times it's been seen by others. Now, that's a great, but you know, those are things that you need to monitor and you need to look at. And, you know, again, those are all things that, especially if you're running a campaign, you want to see. If you post something, did it generate an impression? Did it generate, you know, and that's where eventually you're going to start to see engagement, right? As the impressions go up, that means more people are seeing it. If you're getting a click, that's great, but followers and clicks are vanity metrics. It's great to get clicks, but if people comment, that's a little bit more, because that means that you got engagement, right? And if you got engagement from them, I bet you that that person is visiting your website. And if you got the tools, you'll be able to see that that person visited your website. You'll be able to see where it came from using the Google Analytics and other tools. So it's there. But to get real engagement, and don't sound desperate when you do it. I mean, you know, but to get real engagement, ask questions. Don't always make it a call to action like, we can help you. Call us, you know, fill out a survey. Do something more like, what's worked for you at the end? Or do you agree or disagree? Or what's the biggest struggle that you could relate to from this post? You know, ask questions, be human, so people are curious. And if people are curious, they'll read it, and then they will turn around and they will engage, right? And yeah, you'll get clicks and likes and reactions, but you'll see your impressions go up. And ultimately, the first 3 months that you're doing it, you're building following. You're looking for those reactions. And after those 3 months, you start looking for engagement, people that are commenting, and you're looking at the impressions going up, because ultimately that's how you're going to convert people to your website. And if you can get them to your website, then you can give them a journey through what they might be looking for, what they might be interested in.
How about from a perspective of getting your existing clients following you, right? You know, because, you know, some might think, hey, they're already a client, I don't need to use this, you know, as a marketing tool, but can also help from just that retention perspective of, you know, being that thought leader, right?
Mm-hmm. So we're really big on building followings for our clients. And one of the things that we do is, if a client follows us, you can see in the back there, there's two little, on my shadow box next to my flag, there's two little figurines. And those are squeezy balls that are our mascot. They're shaped like our mascot. So we'll stick one in an envelope, and it costs us $1 or so to send it. We'll send them a squeezy ball and thank them for following us. They did something for us. We did something back. It's memorable, and they've got something that they can hold by the body and beat the head on when they get frustrated. So,
There you go. Yeah, you could always send out old sticks of RAM, right? You guys got tons of them. Just throw them in an envelope.
I knew a guy back in the late 80s, early 90s when I first started getting into this. I was doing a lot of AutoCAD stuff, and he was a distributor for Curta digitizing tablets. And he would give out these things he called them a tech sledge. He had them made. It was a giant wooden sledgehammer, like this big around, about that wide, with a handle on it. And the box was all like, you know, had advertisements on it, how it could handle your tech problems.
Yes. We did that a long time ago with the squishy, the stress ball hammers, and we had our logos thrown on them, and uh, we use those, and people always got a
Mhm.
kick out of them.
And they're fun because it's a bulky mailer, so it's more likely to get to your end user than not than it's just a regular envelope that the gatekeepers are going to see. So it's just another touch point, and it shows that you care, like you're actually paying attention, right?
Yeah.
So,
And it's
and
humorous, like the idea of the hammer is humorous, and they're gonna keep it out. This because it's something that, everybody's got some type of PC problem, so they're gonna,
mhm,
have some fun with it, and your logo's displayed there. So
yep. So without a doubt, little things like that, and you can get some other things like one of the things that I love to get our customers to buy is, and they cost about probably 65, 70 cents with your logo on it, is a little webcam cover.
Hmm.
And it,
oh
it
yeah,
sits on the webcam and, I can go like this real quick and on and off, right? Yeah, we have those controls these days, but maybe you want privacy. We've all heard about incidents where people can route through the code of a device now and get to the webcam, and they could be recording or what have you, right?
yeah,
Um, so it's a great little thing. It puts it right in front of them on their webcam, and it's got your logo on it. What a better marketing piece than reminding them of you every day with it, and you can order 300 of these things for, you know, $200,
yeah.
fully branded with your website URL on it. So, you know, little things like that are memorable, go a long way. And you can even use them when you go to trade events or something like that and give them out in the cybersecurity or even in a marketing program. Send out a letter with a piece in it, and that gives your rep something to call about. Or, hey, follow us, from a post, and we'll send you a little cybersecurity memento, you know, leave a little
Well,
little something in there. So,
I've always been a firm believer of us dropping something off to a neighboring business, especially if it's in a business, park, or if it's in an office complex, hit each side of the business that you're at, just drop something off, and just say, hey, I was just next door at so and so, helping them with their technology. I wanted to drop this off. If you ever need us, here you go.
mm-hmm,
And you know, why not leverage your techs? It takes an extra 5 minutes, just to drop something off, and they're just helping to grow the business.
yep.
All right, we have just a couple minutes left. Does anybody have any questions? We have time for maybe one question.
I'm gonna throw a shameless plug in the chat here,
Yeah,
which is a
absolutely.
web link, but it's not really shameless because it's a good thing for the community. This is a give back program that we just developed. It's called Content RX. It's a prescriptive, no cost, no obligation, no follow up by us way that you can go in, submit a PDF of a piece of marketing that's not working for you. We'll score it. We'll give you an analysis of it and tell you what you can do to potentially make it better and send it back to you within about 48 hours if you're chosen. And we take it by Friday, every Friday at close of business is when we select three winners for the week. So
Love
we
it.
don't publicize anything. We don't chase you. It's just one of those things that we're trying to give back to help everybody, uh, get moving, get started. Look at what's, I have this sales sheet and nobody pays attention to it. Why? So we've had it going for
That's
two
cool.
weeks and we've already put 6 pieces out, and we've had 3 people call us back to talk further about what we wrote, not necessarily to engage. And I'm happy to have that conversation. So,
Very cool. All right, Pete. As always, I want to thank you for your time. Uh, lot of great information today. Thank you very much for that. And
Thank you.
as well as everybody out there listening on YouTube and our good friends here live in Zoom. So with that being said, everybody, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys on Friday. Take care,
So
guys.
long, boys.
See you.
Take care. Bye-bye.